Football is back. And look, I know what you guys are thinking. Not another sports show. But you know what?
We're going to do it anyway.
Because that's what we want to do.
That's our passion.
And I mean, we're going to be coming here every week talking about college football, talking about NFL football.
Talking about fantasy football.
And I mean, hopefully placing a few bets, win a little money.
Yeah, cash some, get a little extra side money, nothing crazy, but a little extra side spending money.
Yeah.
Get you some shoes.
Well, I mean, look.
Memorabilia. Anything.
Yeah. And I mean, we're ground zero here. It's week 0 in college football.
This is the pilot. This is
pilot
first
episode
time.
of Not Another Sports Show. Speaking of which, I'm Brian Dino DiNatale.
I'm Curtis Cujo Nodrift.
And we're going to be with you every week for the rest of your lives because you're going to start following us and we're just going to keep doing this until we die.
Exactly. I mean, week 0 is going to be a little bit different than how it's going to go the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Small slate, only 4 games that are on there.
Yeah. Could talk probably mainly futures today.
Yeah, futures are kind of where we're at. Get some win totals, some over-unders, a little Heisman money, who we think can win that, who's coming out of certain conferences. We got a slate of about 10 futures bets for you guys, and then we'll cover the 4 games.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of value, but
we'll
bet it anyway.
Still fun. There's,
why not?
What else is there to talk about this week, right? I mean, we're excited for week 0.
We hope you are. We hope you'll enjoy.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just want to jump into it? Do you have anything that you've been looking at that you're just particularly super pumped about?
I'm super pumped about one of the most boring offensive teams in college football. That's a good way to start, right?
Yeah. I think let's start them by boring them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa.
Oh.
Iowa win total currently sits at 8.5. Now, I like this number way better at 8, but I still think they're going to be okay.
Well, it's funny because when you mention that, do not immediately associate Iowa and that stingy defense as winning football games necessarily. But I mean, last year you look at it, 10-4 overall last year.
Yeah, and they had, they were 10-2 in the regular season. Their losses were Penn State and Minnesota during the regular season. So obviously Penn State would have been a playoff team last year if it had expanded to 12. So it's a quality loss. I mean, they did struggle against quality teams. They lost in the conference championship game and their bowl game. They got waxed. But overall, I mean, 3 of the last 4 years, they've won 10 games. So 8.5, we just need to get to 9.
And you know where it gets interesting, though?
Where's that?
Is that their offense and defense per game last year.
Yeah, I mean, they were...
looking at these just tight stat lines here.
I mean, you average 15.4 per game on offense. Not great. I mean,
Not great.
132nd out of 133 qualifying teams last year.
Fun game to watch, really.
But they only gave up 14.8, which was 4th best in the nation, and that's coming out playing in the Big Ten. So they're playing quality opponents, so that's not a bad thing.
They aren't blowing anybody out.
No, they're not.
That's less than 1 point difference. They're winning. I don't know how that's really possible to win by less than 1 point, but they did it.
Yeah, I mean, they played well defensively, special teams wise. Their punter was phenomenal last year.
I mean, that's what you want in a championship team is a phenomenal punter.
They won't have it this year, but they do have some hope. They got a really good transfer coming in, a center, Cade Borad. He's coming over from North Dakota. Very versatile, very quick. He'll be able to really boost that line. Last year, the problem for Iowa, they ran okay, but when you can't throw the ball, it's easy just to stuff the box. So they faced a lot of extra man fronts, knowing that they weren't going to be able to throw the ball around.
Yeah, and I mean, they have their new offensive coordinator as well, Tim Lester.
Yeah, Lester was Western Michigan coach from 2017 to 2022. Western Michigan was pretty solid during that stint. Last year, he was an advisor for the Packers. Packers, obviously, offensively were good. Don't get me wrong, they don't have a Jordan Love there. I mean, it's going to be Caden McNamara again. Supposedly, he's healthy.
Supposedly.
If he can be just okay, they have to be better on offense than they were last year. I don't think you can be worse, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. There was a lot of boos coming his way and coming all of the quarterbacks' way all season from the Iowa fans. And, I would hope that is a little bit of a chip on his shoulder going into this year. With that win total over 8.5 wins, though, do you think that they can do that? You think they can get that over?
I see 9-10 wins. Like when you look at their schedule, I mean, it's not an easy schedule by any stretch. They go to Ohio State, so you're going to lose there. You're at UCLA, so you're kind of going across the country for them. You got a couple other games, like at Minnesota is not going to be easy out. Minnesota's a quality team if they don't turn the ball over, so they could take a step forward this year. You get Washington. Washington had some decent transfers come in. Obviously, a lot of turnover from last year, new coach, new system, but it's not an easy win. But I don't really see a lot of losses on the schedule.
Right. I mean, yeah, Ohio State.
I would say
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin will be tough, but Iowa gets them at home.
Right.
The Iowa State game, obviously the rivalry, that's always a tough out. So let's say two losses for sure on there. You're 10-2. You got another game to spare. Maybe that UCLA game trips you up. Maryland's going to be a way different team without their quarterback. Tua's brother's gone, so like Maryland's going to have to change their system. I just don't see the way that Iowa doesn't come out with 9 wins as long as they're like relatively healthy. I don't see them taking a huge step back.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, it looks pretty good for them. I mean, yeah, the only thing that would trip them up maybe Iowa State, Ohio State, and then that third one like Wisconsin. Now, Iowa State's probably the one that's like, all right, you should win that one probably, but it's the rivalry game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that one, I could see it tripping up. I think I'm also hitting that over. I think we're both hitting that over.
Yeah, I mean, I see the worst case here as being like 9-3.
Yeah.
I don't really see 4 losses.
Yeah.
Unless something goes incredibly terrible and McNamara gets hurt or he just falls off the face of the earth. Like,
maybe those Cornhuskers are going to do something this year, you know?
They could. I mean, like I said, Nebraska is going to come down to, can they not turn the ball over? They were so bad last year turning the ball over.
Coming into a nice like Black Friday game, you know, Huskers looking to upset and ruin your
potentially
bet. I mean, who
knows?
I
mean, Iowa has an outside chance here to make the college playoff. Now they're gonna have to put up a 10-2, and they're gonna have to get a quality win, obviously. And that Ohio State game, that's a big one. Now, if they go 11-1 and they only lose to Ohio State, I think they got a chance of getting in the playoff. So I mean, I took this. On FanDuel.
Yeah, what do you got your stakes here?
FanDuel, I got over 8.5 wins at plus 152. So I put 25 on it. It wins 38. Total payout 63. That number, I think, if you get 8, I don't think 8's anywhere on any of the sports books now. But at plus money to get over 8.5, I don't mind it. I'm willing to lay it.
Yeah. So for all these bets, just to let everybody know, how are you doing these? Are you doing these 25 per?
Yeah, for the futures, I went 25 per. Normally, it'll be like $10 a game. We're trying to be a reasonable budget here. We're not millionaires. We're not trying
Not yet. I mean, once you guys start listening, make sure you tell your friends about the podcast.
Yeah, when all the sponsorships start coming in, we can do it. But, you know, I'm trying to be conservative with some of these bets that are just solid bets that I think we can win. That's really what it is. Make a little money, have a little fun doing it. Like, obviously, don't bet more than you can afford to lose. You have to anticipate losing.
Right. Well, then I guess that's a good segue. I got a fun one for you. Who's your Heisman future? Who do you got for the Heisman?
So this kind of ties into like multiple futures bets I have. I actually have Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart last year.
A little dart throw, eh?
It is a little dart throw, you know. Ole Miss is going to be really good this year. Ole Miss is anticipated to get into the college playoff. To get in the college playoff, they're going to have to rely on Jackson Dart to be great. Last year, over 3,300 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, only 5 picks. Ran for about 408 touchdowns, too. Very athletic, very mobile. He's also got 2 exceptional wide receivers that are NFL talents. And Trey Harris, and now Antoine Wells comes over from South Carolina. He's got all the weapons. I think they're going to be humming. Like, I like Jackson Dart.
So, I'm not as big on Jackson Dart as you are. I'm going to say I don't believe in him. I watched him at USC. Didn't think he was all the hype. I mean, he really wasn't.
Do you not believe in Lane Kiffin and being able to maximize Dart even more this year?
I mean, how many titles does Lane Kiffin have?
I mean, that's a fair point, but
So, I mean, I respect the dart throw. I love the dart throw.
I mean, it's at plus 1,400, so you get 14 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
I threw 25 hits. You win 350, total payout 375. Took that on FanDuel.
That's pretty solid.
I think he has like the 4th shortest odds right now at the Heisman.
Yep.
Obviously, I think with future for Heisman bets, you really kind of want to throw the ones that are like further out there.
Okay.
There's a little more value there. Taking the odds on favorites normally doesn't pan out that well.
So if we're going like that, we're going to go a little bit longer on the odds. I think if I have to pick, my choice is going to be Ollie Gordon.
Oh,
One of my most favorite running backs I've seen in recent history in college football.
Only because you've been torched on NCAA 25 when I've used Ollie Gordon.
I'd rather not speak to that. This is not a video game podcast, or this is not a video game show. So we're going to talk real football, and I would have to say that if I didn't go with Ollie Gordon, if I was going to go quarterback, right? Like running back, not as often as a quarterback winning it. Do you know who I'm going to pick?
I mean, you're an LSU guy, but
I am.
I don't
but
see.
Nussmeier's not going to.
Not a Nussmeier guy?
I didn't trust Jaden Daniels either, and yet he won it, so maybe I should. But I'm actually going to go with Quinn Ewers.
Oh, you a big Texas guy now?
No, I'm definitely not
Is he
a Texas
going to be
guy. Maybe.
the inscription has the Ricky Williams inscription? Is that going to be Ewers this year?
It could be. I might need to get one.
You think Ewers is going to get challenged a little more going to the SEC?
I think what it is, number one, yeah. I mean, you got the SEC stage. Not that, didn't have light before, but you have that stage. But I think also it's the Arch Manning effect. I think it's a little bit of like he's got to prove himself, and he still is that guy.
I mean, he did stay. Like, there was a chance he could have left for the draft, looked at transfer.
And he's going to have to play for his job.
Yeah.
Like, they want Arch to start. So.
And they got a lot of money tied up in Arch.
Yeah. So I think he's going to be playing for it. Currently sitting at 3rd in odds. He's one ahead of Dart. So, a little less of a long odds play there. But
I think I like the Ollie Gordon option better, to be honest with you. Because Ollie Gordon last year finished top 10 in Heisman voting. He had over 1,700 yards rushing last year, 20 touchdowns. He's phenomenal. He is Oklahoma State's offense.
I mean, it might just be a good toss a unit there and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. Playing off that, though, transitioning from the Heisman, since I had Dart, I'm all in on Ole Miss this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be.
I think if there's a year for them to do this, I think it's now. I think you have Alabama in a transition. Listen, I know, get Washington's coach, everything. Like, Alabama's not going to be bad. They didn't get picked apart in the transfer portal like thought may happen with the news of Saban retiring.
Right.
Obviously, Georgia's really good, and Georgia's a front runner, but Ole Miss last year was 11-2. They were 10-2 in the regular season. Their offense ranked 16th among 133 teams. Their defense was 41.
Yeah.
The defense got drastically better. They got a new transfer in, Walter Nolan. He's a defensive tackle. He's an NFL prospect.
Yeah.
They were able to poach him away from A&M. He's huge. He's first-round talent. Like, that is going to be so helpful for them on the defensive front.
Yep. I mean, like you said, you already talked about the wide receiver core.
Yeah, you got 2 NFL-ready receivers with Trey Harris and Antoine Wells coming in. So I think a lot of things there for Ole Miss are like going to click, and I think they really have a good chance here.
So that's looking at the 9.5 win total. You're taking the over.
Yeah, I think they could easily be 11-1.
Yeah.
Like, their schedule is not a cakewalk, but if you're going to be that team and you want to make the playoffs, you're going to have to win big games.
Yep.
And they're not really challenged. I mean, the beginning of their schedule is a joke.
Yeah, it's nobody. I mean, you're talking Middle Tennessee State, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, and then finally Kentucky when you start getting something.
Kentucky will be a test, but they're at home. Then it gets a little more daunting. At South Carolina, I'm not worried about that game. At LSU, I think they're better than LSU. I don't think LSU's really going to challenge them that much this year.
Yeah, agreed.
I could be wrong, but now what's hard is like you have that LSU spot, and then the very next game you got Oklahoma coming into town.
Yep.
That could be a letdown.
But see, here's the thing I think that's playing for them is that do you think they really lose both those games back to back? No. They're going to win one of them.
And that's where it is. I think they split.
Yeah.
I think they win one, lose one, pick maybe if they lose at LSU, as long as that game's not like a demoralizing game, like they exert all this effort and like lose at the end where there's maybe that hangover going into the next week at Oklahoma. I don't think it's an issue. And then you go at Arkansas. Arkansas was abysmal last year. I mean, they were just up and down. It was inconsistent.
Yeah.
And then you get Georgia. You do get Georgia at home though. So you're at home. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to be loud. Like Ole Miss has a chance to upset Georgia in that spot. I'm not saying they do, but
hey,
you have a chance. You're at home.
You know who also had a chance last 2 years really, to upset Georgia?
Oh,
Truman.
Is that Truman Tiger?
Yeah. Mizzou.
M-I-Z?
Z-O-U.
Oh.
So, I mean, yeah, there's always a chance that they're going to upset. And really, how much of an upset is it when at that point, they could be ranked. It could be a huge game. Like, this is a late season game.
They're coming into, like, their preseason number 6. So, like,
a November 9th game is like that's the possible 1-2 matchup there.
Yeah, and it's going to have big implications on the SEC championship games too. And then they go to Florida. Florida's got such a brutal schedule this year, man. I mean, their win total was like 4.5, 5.5, and they have one of the roughest like Novembers like ever. So Florida might be demoralized at that point.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what they're going to have out there. And then you end with Mississippi State, and you're at home against them. I don't think they're going to, even though it's a rivalry game, I don't think they're in any, like, spot to lose that.
So, yeah, you've got the over.
Yeah, I think they go 10-2 at worst. 11-1 seems feasible. Undefeated's not impossible, but I think 10's, like, the lowest they'll go. Yeah, so I took Ole Miss the over 9.5. I got that one on FanDuel. That was -110, so I bet 25 on it. It wins 22.73. Total payouts 47.73. So that one I got on FanDuel as well. Same with the Jackson Dart.
Right. Yeah. What was the Jackson Dart one?
That was plus 1,400. So that was betting 25 to win 350. Total payout 375.
Yeah.
So we got a lot riding on Ole Miss.
And I mean that line is moving because now it's currently at 13.25. So as we stand right now, so
I got a good number.
Rising up the board, yeah.
Yeah. So more money's coming in on Dart. It's always good when the market's moving in your favor. Means we did something right.
Yeah. And speaking of throwing a little dart here, let's move a little bit deeper in. Go with a little Appalachian State to win the Sun Belt.
Yeah. I have Appalachian State to win the Sun Belt. They're honestly like kind of a dark horse here to maybe make a push for that 12th seed to be a P5 team that comes out.
That would be fun.
They're at plus money right now, plus 270 on FanDuel is what I got them to win the Sun Belt. I don't really see anyone else in the Sun Belt challenging them that much.
Who are your favorite Sun Belt teams?
I mean, Coastal Carolina would probably be the one.
That's true. That is true, yeah.
I think that's the game that's the team I'm most worried about. It's Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
Obviously, James Madison, great last year. A lot of pieces left, though.
Yeah.
A lot of pieces transferred, new coach. But, Appalachian State's won the championship 3 of the last 5 years. So they're proven track record. They've got a solid foundation. Their stuff really comes down to stopping the run.
Yeah.
When they have an average of 5.5 yards or less, they're 8-1. When they don't, they're 1-5.
So I mean, last year 9-5, 6-2
in the conference.
So I mean, yeah, this one's gonna be a little bit tough. But that's why you're getting a little bit higher odds here.
Yeah, and you look at their conference schedule. I mean, they get South Alabama to start. They're at Marshall, at Louisiana. 2 tougher road games. Get Georgia State at home. You get Old Dominion at home. They go to Coastal Carolina in November. That game I think is going to be huge. They get James Madison at home, and then they have to go to Georgia Southern. Not the easiest schedule by any stretch, but I think they have a solid shot. They have a quality team too.
So you bet 25 here. We're betting 25 on everything, right?
We're betting 25 on everything. So that's the win, 67.50. Total payout of 92.50. Yeah, I just think Appalachian State's proven it. They have good camaraderie. They've got a lot of returning guys. I think it'll be okay.
Now moving on down the list to, looks like you appear to be a little bit of a Georgia Tech fan.
I am.
Looks like we got the Calvin jersey.
Yep.
We got the Calvin
Bobble.
long neck, and we got a little
GT banner here below. Right down here.
Yeah. And what do you got for this one? That Georgia Tech football, you're the one who watching these games. I mean, I see
Listen,
them.
I'm a homer.
Look, I'm on 2 quad views, eight games. They might not make the bot. They might not even make that 8, you know?
So the thing is, I love Georgia Tech. I'm realistic with them. I do. But I'm realistic in general. Now, last year, they were 7-5.
Right.
They played
That's respectable.
really good. They got a bowl. Been a while. They've got a lot of talent on offense. A lot of talent.
I mean, they usually do have some prolific receivers.
Yeah, and they just defensively have struggled. But last year, 7-5 is a huge jump. They have almost everybody coming back. They didn't get picked apart of the portal. So, I mean, to me, that feels like something's going right and turning in the right direction. Atlanta is a huge hotbed. You got Georgia right there ready to poach, and you're keeping most of your guys. I think that means you're building something right. So
they got this at 4.5 wins.
Yeah, I got this number and I was shocked. It was even on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Obviously it's -142.
Yeah.
But you're telling me Georgia Tech just has to get over 4.5 wins?
Yeah.
Now their schedule is not easy.
I was looking at it and I'm like, I mean, I could see it.
So the key for Georgia Tech, they're going to be able to run and gun with about anybody. Haynes King's coming back. He was phenomenal last year. If he can cut down on turnovers, last year he threw for 2,800, 27 touchdowns. The interceptions have to regress. He can't throw 16 picks again. That was part of the reason Georgia Tech lost a lot of games. Too many turnovers. But he's also a dual threat. He's sneaky. He's sneaky fast. He's got long strides. He's just quick. You don't really think of it. It's kind of like a Daniel Jones type running style.
Right.
You don't think this
he's
guy's
not a rusher, but he does.
He doesn't look like Lamar back there. He's not slender, just juking people out of their shoes. But he ran for 737 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. They've also got a lightning quick Jamal Haynes in the backfield.
A lot of Haynes on this team.
Yeah, Haynes King, Jamal Haynes.
Is that part of the prerequisite to be on the team? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I think they got sponsorships coming in.
From Haynes t-shirts?
Yeah, NIL money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, Jamal ran for over 1,000. He averaged over 6 yards a carry. And they only got better. They started hitting their stride at the end of the year. They had that huge comeback win against Miami. They're also getting some help. Their problem has been the linebackers. They were dead last in the ACC in run stopping last year. They were terrible.
Yeah.
200 yards a game they're giving up. Gotta get better.
I guess my question for this one is, they only got to get 5 wins. Which 5 wins are they getting?
So you look at their schedule. Obviously, they're a week 0 team. They're in Ireland against Florida State. Which,
by the way, if you can see, this is an Ireland jersey purchased in Ireland at the stadium that they're playing at.
What can you tell us about the stadium?
Well, I did a little scouting in the offseason back in December. I took the field at Aviva Stadium. I talked to the heads groundkeeper there.
Oh, wow.
No lie.
How'd you swing that?
I walked up to the gate, looked in the stadium, stood there for a little bit. We kind of tried to weasel our way in there to take a picture, and security walked up, and they said, "You can't be standing here." And then out of nowhere, this guy's like, "Hey, you guys want to see the field?" And we're like, "Yeah." Walked us right in. We started talking to this guy for a while. He's telling us about, we're from America. He's telling us, "Oh yeah, some college football here this season. It was really fun." And next thing you know, find out, yeah, head groundskeeper.
That's pretty crazy. I mean,
so anyway,
last
yeah,
year's game.
Field conditions. They are growing some new grass out there. They tend to keep it, tip-top shape.
Tip-top shape. I mean, it sounded like last year for Notre Dame's game, everything went well. I didn't really hear anything that was complaints about the playing field, which...
I mean, it's a pitch. It's not a field. It's a pitch.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes when you go play, like other sports play in other stadiums, you get things beat to death, basically, football games on baseball fields that aren't really meant for certain types of movement. Things like that can eventually have issues. But back to...
so what are your thoughts for...
So Florida State, I'll chalk as a loss, just for conservative.
We'll chalk it out there, but it could happen.
Getting Florida State in week 0, I think is a better chance than if you played them at the end of the year.
For sure.
They got DJU coming in. I'm not a huge DJU guy, to be honest with you. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. Their OC suspended for this game. A lot of turnover. Obviously, last year you had Benson, you had Coleman.
Right.
You got basically a whole change on offense.
A lot of turnover, yeah.
I don't think it's going to click right away for Florida State offensively. I mean, their defense is top tier.
But either way, you could say less. I mean, Florida State's probably going to win that,
Probably. We'll circle back to that game later.
I mean, the bees might be buzzing, but they're not buzzing that much.
They're yellow jackets.
They're not stinging anybody.
Disrespectful.
They're not stinging anybody.
But after they come home from Ireland, they have Georgia State. Georgia State, I think, is a win.
Okay.
Then they're at Syracuse.
Is Georgia State technically a rivalry game? Because, you never...
Sure.
Oh, okay.
If we're going by that, they're both Georgia.
Know. You never...
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's...
Is it real, though?
We'll count that as a win. All right.
At Syracuse is a very intriguing game.
That's an interesting one.
Syracuse obviously has Kyle McCord coming in, so they're gonna have a revamped offense. It's early though, so I don't know if Syracuse is gonna settle into their new scheme yet. They should throw the ball a lot better than they did last year. They were ranked towards the very bottom in the ACC in passing yards.
I think Georgia Tech needs this one.
I think this is one of those middle games that to hit this, you want this win.
Yeah.
I think they can get it.
But you know what I will say too? I also feel like Georgia Tech is going to do this the hard way if they get it.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech has upset other teams, and I think they'll have to do that. But then they have the Virginia Military Institute.
Might be a tough win.
VMI, I think they'll take care of.
Hopefully.
At Louisville, I'm not huge on Louisville either this year, to be honest. They probably don't win that game.
Okay.
I think
we won't count that one.
I think they win one of the next 3. I think the most likely is beating Duke at home. Okay. I think Georgia Tech being at home, beating Duke. Duke's got a lot of turnovers. I don't think Duke's going to be particularly good this year.
Yep.
So I think Georgia Tech should win that game. So
that
puts you at 3.
I'm going to say you need 2 more, really. But
at North Carolina, they're going to need to win one of those.
Yeah.
So I think that's a game they can win.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's not gonna be a win. Virginia Tech's not gonna be a win, to be honest with you.
So
they're really gonna have to. They're gonna need to start out the game quick.
They're gonna need to get some of these wins firing off. But you know what? Like I said, I could totally see it happen, and they win one of these random games.
Yeah, I mean they're at home against Miami and North Carolina State, both great teams.
Yeah. No, I mean I could see the NC State win.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, being at Georgia Tech helps. I think that can kind of get them that win. The last game at Georgia has not fared well historically for Georgia Tech.
Well, so take this with a grain of salt from Georgia Tech side of the table, but he's got somehow that adds up to 5 wins, I think.
Yeah, I think we get to 5. I couldn't tell you the exact 5. I can tell you 3
Yeah.
And then,
They got to win one of the
I
other.
think if they get a win, obviously a win here in week 0 is huge for that.
Right.
That moves it in the right direction. But I think Georgia Tech's just got to get better at stopping the run. If they don't, they're going to struggle. They're going to score with anybody, especially in the ACC. They can score. That might be the way they win, though, is they're going to just have to try to outscore people instead of playing defense.
So what's the payout on that one then?
Yeah, so this one was, like I said, it was on FanDuel. It's minus 142, so I bet 25 to win 17.61. Total payout 42.61. So you are getting it at, it shades to the over 4.5.
Yeah.
I don't think that number's anywhere else. I think it's 5 now. If it was 5, the line's over 5 flat, I'm not touching it. They're not going to win 6. I think 6 is overly aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock to them. Like, I think they're going to be a good team, but they do have a tough schedule. So I don't know. I think 5 and 7 is where they're going to end up.
Okay. I mean, it's a tough
6 and 6 would be great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, as
Get
a
bowl
fan,
eligible, like I would love 6 and
a
6.
step back from 7 and 5 from last year, but
A step up in class on their schedule though, so it happens.
now talking about a little bit more of an exciting team, but you're pretty down on the Houston Cougars joining the Big 12.
You talk about a step up in class. Houston, they did no favors to Houston.
No.
This Big 12 schedule, the teams they have to play is rough.
You might as well, get after it right away.
Yeah, I mean, they're conference wins. This is a conference win bet. This is not total wins. The other ones I'd given had all been total. This is strictly conference
They
wins.
have 2.5 wins, conference wins.
And I think that goes under.
Oh,
Under 2.5.
Wow.
I mean, there's
Welcome
a lot of
to
new
the
things.
Big 12. I mean,
there's a lot of new things that come into play when picking that one.
yeah.
One, they got a new coach in Willie Fritz, the old Tulane coach coming in, so it's going to take time to rebuild.
Yep.
2, they got a lot of new guys from the portal. So, it's great. Their defense was not good last year. They're getting about 13 guys they went and got in the portal. I don't think they mesh in year 1, though. I think that's too much to rebuild. It's a whole new system.
And,
their offensive line's going to be brand new.
Yeah, looking at this schedule, I don't really see any wins either. So, I mean, you're talking early on. Cincinnati could be a win. BYU could be a win.
But, man, it's daunting because that at Cincinnati's tough.
Yeah. And at BYU.
Cincinnati's not great.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's not great. I think they'll be better this year than they were last year. But I think Cincy's total wins is 5.5 or 6. So they're comparable on totality wins, Houston and Cincinnati. But going on the road, that's not really where they want
their wins are UNLV and Rice potentially.
I'm not even sure that Rice is a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
Rice is a solid program. They're going to compete in the American this year. I think they're going to be all right. Yeah, when you look at what the Big 12 did to Houston for their schedule, they did them dirty.
Yeah. It's a lot of hype, though. They're coming off of a lot of hype joining the Big 12.
Yeah.
But
you go at Cincinnati's the game that you might win. They match up okay with Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's going to be drastically better, I think, than they were last year. And it's a road game. It's not easy to go into Cincinnati. Then you get Iowa State. Yeah, you're at home, but Iowa State's far superior.
yeah.
And then it's just you're at TCU. I don't think you're going into TCU to beat them.
Just putting them on the board. Kansas, Utah, Kansas State, Arizona, Baylor, BYU. Like you said, BYU, the last game of the year, maybe they're not playing at that point, and they're just kind of
that could be
we need a win.
They could be a checked out BYU team depending on where they're at.
We need a win.
Baylor, they might have a shot at, but I'm not as down on Baylor as a lot of people are.
Yeah,
I think they'll be
same.
okay. So what?
Yeah, that's rough.
They have 3 winnable games, potentially winnable.
Yeah.
I think they have a chance.
When I saw 2.5, I was like, that can't be right. But you look at that schedule,
may not
and
win
you're
a game, though.
this might be 1 win.
Yeah, I think that's very
That's a
realistic.
realistic possibility.
And I mean,
It could be 4 wins. Like hey, like we could be wrong. They could be slightly better than.
they could be, but I mean, they have a whole new offensive line too.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost
might have
their
a-
best guy to the Dolphins in the draft, and now 4 starters have been replaced.
Yeah, but they
That's a lot.
might also have some of these new guys with the transfer portal, with being in the Big 12. They might be drawing a little bit better talent. They might not be gelling yet.
I think
Give
they're
them
a couple years.
Yeah, I'd
away.
say give them a couple of years.
I think Willie Fritz will do a good job there. I mean, Tulane, he had a great run at Tulane, but I think the under 2.5 and the -140 kind of shows that like
Yeah.
they're not expected to win that many games.
So how much are we making on this one?
So betting 25, the win amounts 1786, total payouts 4286.
Nice.
So yeah, they're the favorite. It's favored to go under 2.5, and I think you look at it, and after we talked about it, there's a clear reason why.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my Cougar talk for today. But there is a team I
Wait,
actually
I
like.
got something. Aren't BYU the Cougars?
They are.
Battle the Cougars. That could be a funny.
Yeah. The Big 12 team I do really like, Utah.
Oh, big Utes guy.
And this is a total win bet. I have over 9.5. I think last year they were 8-5. They had no Cam Rising. Their offense was anemic. It was so bad. And their defense was great. And I mean, Kyle Whittingham is an elite coach. Cam Rising coming back for year like 30.
Yeah, I was about to say he was one of my favorites for Heisman as well.
Yeah, he wanted to stay in Utah. Pretty sure he probably has like 2 masters by now, as
Yeah.
long as he's been in college.
It's hard for me to say that a Utah quarterback would win Heisman. I don't see that happening.
No, but I mean, Utah's going to be drastically better this
Yeah.
year on defense. It's not just Cam Rising either. Like last year, they were missing their running back. Micah Bernard is healthy this year. He missed most of last year. They're getting back Brant Kuth, who's a healthy tight end now. He's an NFL prospect. And then they also got a transfer.
You got Dorian Singer coming in too.
Yeah, and Singer last year, listen, he had 24 catches for like 289 yards at USC.
Yeah.
But don't forget about his year at Arizona the prior year where he caught over 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go more back to that than what you saw at USC.
But I mean, they're gonna need all of that to get over 9.5. But honestly, when you look at that schedule, I mean, I'd rather have their schedule than Houston's schedule.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, going back to back with that is just.
I think they got a soft schedule.
They
They
do.
really got a soft Big 12 schedule. Like, their hardest game is going to be that at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Like, that game will be hard. That's not... So, let's say you chalk that one up to a loss. They're not going to lose to Southern Utah their first game. Baylor, they should run through. Utah State, they're going to run through. Oklahoma State going on the road, I can see them losing that game. Arizona, they're drastically better.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
TCU, they're at home against TCU. They should roll through TCU. We just talked about Houston.
yeah.
So, like,
I don't see 3 losses.
BYU, they're at Colorado. Maybe that at Colorado is like a trap game.
It could be.
But who knows what Colorado's going to be at that point of the year either. I mean, Sanders could be knocked down all year and kind of just be like tapped out. Same with Travis Hunter. Like, if Colorado's not super competitive, like deep into like the year, you come November time, like,
Yeah.
how much are you putting them out there to hurt their draft stock? Like, they're probably going to hang it up earlier. Like, I just don't see it. Iowa State's a good team. That's a tough game. And then at UCF. At UCF is actually kind of a sneaky good game.
It is.
Especially at the end of the year. And you don't know what that game is going to mean. I mean, if Utah has only 1 loss going into that game, it's not going to matter for them to make the playoff if they win or lose. But even then, at that case, they're 10-2. I just don't see them losing 3 games here.
Yeah. I mean,
All this is prefaced if Cam Rising is healthy.
I was about to say, I mean,
If he's not healthy, they might be at 9 or 8.
Yeah. But, like, there's an easy chance that, I mean, I those 3 losses, I don't really see them on the board. So
No,
they're coming in the year ranked 12.
They're just better than all these teams. Like
I don't, and it's hard because I don't see them like you're going to make the playoffs if you do that. But at the same time, it's like, how do you even raise your ranking against one of these teams?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you're just winning games.
You're
You just
winning
have to
games,
keep taking care of business, and like I think they're going to be the team that wins the Big 12 outright.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Agreed.
there's some other teams in there.
Oklahoma State potentially. But outside of that, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would favor them to win it. I mean, Kansas is going to be in there if they can stay healthy, but that's a huge if.
So what do you got for these stakes?
I got 25. This one's through MyBookie.
Okay.
MyBookie's an online offshore site. If you're in Missouri, you can't bet on FanDuel or anything currently yet. That's up for vote in November, so please go vote to legalize sports betting in the state of Missouri.
We don't care about the rest of the ballot. Just do that.
Yeah, that's the only thing we care about. So I had over 9.5 at minus 146, $25 on that to win 17-12, total payout of 42-12.
So moving down the list here, what do you got for the next one? Looks like we're
heading back to the ACC.
Okay.
Another conference win total.
All right. A high conference win total this time? Or are we doing?
Depends what you mean by high. Is over 2 high?
Oh, that's not high. No.
This is Duke.
You really like scrapping out these low win total.
This is where there's some value, man.
Okay.
This one, it's under 2.5 conference wins for Duke. It's heavily favored too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is heavily favored. Like, the books don't see many ways to 3 here.
Yeah, I don't see either. I mean, the fact that Riley Leonard was holding that team together.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. They got a new coach, so you got Manny Diaz coming in. You lose Mike Elko. He's off to A&M. Mike Elko is a phenomenal coach, and he turned that Duke program around quickly.
Yep, they seem to be that kind of team that does that every few years. They'll turn it around. Maybe Manny Diaz will do that in a few years, but
I think it's a rebuild, though. I don't think it's
a
this
rebuild.
Year's not the year, and they also lost their leading running back. I mean,
they
Jordan
lost everybody.
Waters transferred to NC State.
Yeah.
Now, what they do bring in is they bring in a quarterback, and that's Malik Murphy, the transfer from Texas. Murphy was highly touted coming out of high school.
Sucks that you got, you're the third string quarterback.
Yeah,
you're not playing.
He was battling Arch to be the backup, and he realized, he can just transfer and go play.
Yeah.
So I think he should be starting for them this year. But I don't think it's really going to matter with the ACC schedule that they got dealt.
Yeah, I mean, 3 conference wins. 2.5 honestly seems aggressive here.
Yeah, I mean, they start with North Carolina. They're not going to beat North Carolina. This isn't the same rivalry as like basketball. This is not nearly as heated. No, I mean, it matters because, they're just down the road from each other, but not the same magnitude.
No, they're not, top 2 teams in football? Okay.
No.
All right.
No, surprisingly not. Then they go to at Georgia Tech. That game is one I think Georgia Tech can win. So going on the road.
You're not going to bet against Georgia Tech.
Not going to bet
Let's be
against
real.
them. But, okay, let's say what if they do pick them off?
Okay.
We'll give them the what if.
Well, then you're going to lose your bet.
I will lose.
So,
but
you're losing something if
then they play Florida State.
That's a big game for you.
It is. Then they play Florida State, and they're not winning. They're playing SMU.
SMU.
Not winning.
Oh.
SMU was one that I also looked at on taking a bet on.
They're gonna need to beat SMU if they want that.
They're not going to.
But
SMU is so good. Their offense is so electric. Duke can't hang offensively with SMU. So, and then they go at Miami, at NC State, and then get Virginia Tech. The game that they can win easily is at Wake Forest. Wake Forest isn't very good. But even that's on the road. So what, you say they beat Georgia Tech and Wake Forest?
They're still short, yeah.
Still short.
They're not really focused on football this year. They're just looking to expand on basketball.
I mean, they
try to win a title.
They got Flag coming in there for basketball, so they got a top prospect.
Yeah. they're not really focused on this right now.
No. So like I said, this is minus 187 at my bookie.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
So you're betting 25 to win 13.37.
Yeah.
38.37 return.
But
Listen,
you need some of these hardy
like,
you need some of these hardy bets in here to, just even things out.
Yeah, this isn't like a huge payout. Like this is expected to go under 2.5. I just don't see a way it gets to 3 is really what this comes down to. And I'm willing to risk it at almost 2-1 odds or 1-2 odds. Like I'm willing to pay that price. Like I think it's just an easy layup here.
So speaking of another ACC team, big ACC better this offseason.
Syracuse I have under the 7.5 total wins. Total wins. Not conference wins, just total wins.
Well, you're gonna have to because you need Georgia Tech to win that game.
Well, yeah, that didn't play into this. I just looked at it and they have a tough schedule. 7.5 wins seemed kind of high for them. They got a new head coach, Fran Brown, who's actually never been a head coach. So you have a guy who's never had head coach experience.
Yeah,
he was a secondary coach at Georgia, so he's been around a great program. They get Kyle McCord from Ohio State.
Yeah.
I still don't think Kyle McCord's that great, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think he's good. That's why they got rid of him at Ohio State. So, you're also looking at a 6-17 from last year. Do you really think they're going to get 8 wins this year just because they added McCord?
No, they couldn't pass the ball at all last year. Yeah. That'll get better with McCord. Yeah. They're getting some better receivers.
I do think they can expand on 2-6 in ACC last year. I think they can potentially expand on that, but I don't think they're getting too much further than that.
I think they have for sure like 5 games they're going to win for sure, but I think they have a couple toss-ups, and some of those toss-ups, we're saying that they're going to win over half of those to get to that 8 number. That just seems high. Ohio, they're going to railroad. Georgia Tech, I think, is a toss-up. Stanford, they should probably beat. Holy Cross, they'll beat. UNLV's not an easy game. Like, that's not a toss-up. You're at UNLV. There's elevation there. Like, it's a tough game to go to. At NC State, you're not favored. At Pitt, you probably should win. Virginia Tech, you shouldn't win that game at all. Virginia Tech's a very good school. A lot of people are picking Virginia Tech as a sleeper to come out of the ACC. They're that talented. At Boston College, they should win. Boston College is not very good. This is not the Matt Ryan Boston College. So, at California is not easy. Cal's a really good team. Going on the road, going to the coast, that's brutal. UConn, they should wipe the floor with.
Yes.
But then you have to play Miami the last week. Now, there could be a question what Miami's playing for at that point.
Right.
But I just don't see the way to 8. 8 seems a lot.
8 does seem aggressive. After you lay it out like week by week.
Like, they could go like 7-7 or 7-5.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think that's a failure of a season.
Right.
But I just don't think they're getting to 8.
And Vegas kind of sees it that way.
Yeah, I went through my bookie again. It's minus 142 to the under. So I bet 25 to win 1761. Total payout of 4261. Obviously, they favor the under here. It's got pretty good juice on it. So I just think 8's too many to get to.
All right, so I've got a fun question for you then.
I like fun questions.
So we've been talking a lot of basketball schools here late. We got Syracuse, we got Duke. Is there any other team, basketball team, or potentially just a team that people don't hear a lot that you would throw a little Jackson Dart at, and just see if, give people a little dark horse.
A little dark horse bet?
Yeah, or just a random bet. I don't know if you have anything else that you would think that you've been looking at.
I got one in the chamber.
Okay.
The last kind of my bets, like the 10. And, we didn't say this before, but, every week we're going to try to give out, 10. It's going to be a little bit different rebranded come week 1 when there's actually a full slate of games. We're going to rebrand the name.
Yep.
We already have that squared
away. It's already, check it out next episode to...
Yeah, but it's going to be based off 10 games is what we're going to pick every week to bet and, kind of the best way to use a budget on it and the best games to bet on. But for this last one, for futures, they're kind of a basketball school. They're probably know more for basketball than football, is Temple.
Oh, the Owls.
Yeah, they're a hoot to bet on.
Ha.
The win total for them this year is set at 2.5 for total wins. 2.5.
You know, I don't even have to look at the schedule to.
You know what I love about? I'm under it.
He's under.
I'm under it.
He's a lot of under 2.5s here.
I love under 2.5 here.
Yeah.
They were 3-9 last year. They were the 112th out of 133 ranked teams. That's how bad they were.
That's pretty good.
It's not great. So yeah, they were 3-9 last year. Then you look at their schedule. There is not one game on their schedule that they are actually expected to win.
I like them against Oklahoma in week 1.
Yeah,
know?
at Oklahoma week 1.
Yeah.
If they keep it within 50, that's a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're at Oklahoma, at Navy, Coastal Carolina, Utah State, Army, at UConn, Tulsa, at East Carolina, Tulane, FAU, North Texas, UTSA, the Roadrunner.
I feel like you just got to be like a masochist to want to play for Temple, you know? you really just got to like getting whooped.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real shot here. They don't win.
Could you tell me who plays for Temple?
Not many people that are worthy.
Yeah, I don't
of mentioning.
Who wants to play for Temple? What kind of person would want to play for Temple?
Who knows?
Who?
Yeah, so that's kind of the one I'm looking at. It's -165 on BetMGM. That was the only place I could find it. I can't bet that.
Oh, okay.
Here in Missouri. If you go across the river to Illinois, though, you can bet that. So that would be one I would bet. That would be that like dark horse one that we talked about.
Yeah.
Right here is Temple. It's their logo in case you didn't know what they look like.
Thanks.
I think their spread's like 49 or something.
It's pretty good.
In week 1. So, you know, that's my dark horse team that I think is like worth throwing money at.
Might as well.
Why not? Said. It's $25.
Yeah.
What's it to it?
It's a hoot.
So those are the futures. But let's talk about the present.
Okay.
Week 0.
Week 0. Here we are. There's four games. 4 games on the slate. One being the Ireland game, one being your team.
Ireland game is the opening game of the college football season. Right here. Look at that. On cue.
Wow.
You can't get any better than that.
You see this production value, guys? I mean,
this is great. Just wait till we get a way better budget.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, once you guys start telling your friends, the budget's going to go up. And, I mean, so is your guys' quality of life.
Yeah. And hopefully your pocketbooks will continue to grow as you watch this podcast. And we'll be full disclosure. Like, every week we're going to recap how our bets have went, how they fared, kind of track through the year. We'll keep circling back to like our futures bets, see how they're progressing, if we're in line, or if we're shot.
And look, the better we do, the better this show grows.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do us any good. And here's the thing. I'm betting my money, too, on everything I give you guys. So there's not like, oh, I'm saying this, but I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. I'm telling you the amount I'm betting. So that's what it is. I'm out just as much if I don't do my job well.
Right.
So, but yeah, with that Georgia Tech Florida State game, the line currently sits at 10.5. Obviously, Florida State favored here. 11 o'clock Central kickoff in Ireland. It's an interesting game.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick it. I'm going to bet
I mean, we already kind of talked about it. Yeah. What do you got?
I really wish there wasn't a hook here. It was just that 10.
Yep.
The hook makes it a little more challenging.
Yep.
There was a lot of money that came in on Georgia Tech. This line was like 13.5, 14. This whole week, there's been a lot of money coming in on Georgia Tech. And it's moved at 3 points. With that being said, I think it moved low enough now where I would take Florida State. I think I'd take Florida State minus the 10.5. The reason being, Georgia Tech struggles stopping the run. That's one of the best parts of Florida State's game. It's especially early on this year. It's going to be a big part of their game. Georgia Tech, I just don't think has the bodies to stop that line and stop the running game.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I got some intel, and they put a little bee and wasp killer out from the groundskeeper They've been putting it all up and down that pitch, so gonna be a lot of dead bees.
You just like disrespecting the Yellow Jacket.
A lot of dead bees out there. They ain't gonna be buzzing.
I think they'll be okay. I could see this being like a 12 or 13 point game. Really, I think it's gonna be a 2-touchdown game. If I were to I think Florida State wins by like 14.
Yeah.
Or 13.
No, I agree. I think it's easily gonna be.
I think Georgia Tech can keep it close. Like, I don't think this is gonna be a blowout. Like, it's not gonna be a 24-point game or anything. But I just don't see many ways that Georgia Tech will be able to stop the run.
I could see it being a blowout. Personally. But the line is 10.5. So.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next game in the slate. We got Tarleton State Texans and McNeese State Cowboys, right?
Yeah. If you can find a line for that, good luck.
Oh, okay.
McNeese State didn't win a game last year.
Well, that's a fun fact.
They were 0-10. They were bad.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's the next.
Now, if you're betting this game
right.
and like looking, you might
it's locked,
have a problem.
Yeah.
You might actually have a betting problem.
Yeah.
There's not much value there because there's no line currently for my bookie.
Yeah, I mean, but you can bet with your friends.
Yeah.
Who do you got?
Tarleton State, I think, is probably going to win by 3 touchdowns.
I like the Tarleton State Texans here.
Yeah. Texans Cowboys matchup, the Battle of Dallas.
Right.
I don't actually know where McNeese State
No, me
is.
neither. But anyway, into the real matchup, a very fun, interesting one. We've got the New Mexico Lobos and Montana State Bobcats.
So
this is big news. This is prime time.
This is historic, actually.
Yeah.
From a betting perspective, Montana State is an FCS school. They're not an FBS school.
They don't even have a logo on here.
They're actually favored. The Bobcats are favored by 13.5 over the New Mexico Lobos.
That's wild.
That is the largest spread and the biggest favorite ever of an FCS team over an FBS team. And this game's at New Mexico.
How do you feel if you're a Lobos going into this game? I mean, you got to have a massive chip on your shoulder.
I mean, they're also in a rebuild. They have a new coach in Mendenhall going to be over there. I think he'll turn the program around. But from what I've heard and like what other analysts have talked about is there's not really an expectation there this year. They're at a ground zero.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
There's not like he's going to be on the hot seat if they're not playing well. Like, this is going to take time to rebuild this team. If this game got to 14,
yeah,
I would be all over the New Mexico side because I still think like an FBS team should be able to at least stay within 2 touchdowns.
And I think just knowing they know that they're underdogs in this game.
Yeah, and you're at home. Like, I think they can keep it close.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to win. The irony is, like, when this line opened during the summer, very quickly, it was at 4.5. It was minus 4.5 for Montana State. That quickly disappeared. There was a lot of money that came in real quick, and they reevaluated the lines. And it's just kept moving up. It's getting more and more juice where now it's at the spot where it's like,
man,
I like the New Mexico side now. It would have been great if you jumped in really early and got Montana State at 5 or 6. That's great, but
yeah, no, I'm
at 13.5. I don't know if there's a lot of value.
No.
If I had to pick a side on it, I would bet New Mexico, the plus 13.5. Think if they can keep it under 2 touchdowns, hopefully. But I think I'm staying away from this game overall, though. I'm not putting money on this. Montana State's a really good FCS team. They're like a 3rd-ranked FCS team, so they're quality. New Mexico's at the bottom of the FBS, so it makes sense. But man, 13.5
staying away
seems
from
like
that
a
one.
lot.
So moving down the list to the next matchup, we've got the Nevada Wolfpack and SMU Mustangs. I know you're a big SMU fan.
Yeah, so this line's kind of moved around. It opened at like minus 20.5 for SMU. Quickly shot up to 27.5.
Yep.
And then this week, it's actually kind of been ping-ponging. At one point, the beginning of the week is 24.5. And now you see it's back up to 27.5. SMU's really good. Their offense is electric. They bring back a lot of guys. They score in bunches and they score quickly. They play at very fast tempo. They put a lot of points up on the board. They normally run through lower teams very well. Their like big thing this year is, can they step up in competition in the ACC? And when they actually start playing good teams, like, can they keep doing that? I think they can. Nevada's not a good team.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of feels like a March Madness 3 versus 14 seed game.
Yeah.
You know, you got SMU as the 3 seed. You got Nevada as a 14 seed. You know, you're going to have a few people that are just uneducated who think that the 14 seed are going to upset it. But, I mean, not one of those people.
No, I mean, there's been talks about SMU could pull their quarterback, like, into the game. There's no advantage for them to win by, like, 50.
Right.
They want to keep him healthy.
So, I mean, with that line, with a 27.5, what do you think?
I mean, you're just under that
aggressive.
key number of 28.
It's aggressive.
So if you like, I would lean more, honestly, in this game towards the over in total points.
Yeah.
The 55.5, I think SMU can score, like, 45 themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they could score 56 themselves and cover it. I think it's more likely, like, they could win this game like a 42 to, like, 20 or 42 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a line that's 27.5 and the over
like
is
42-17, like, type game.
Yeah.
I don't know if 4 touchdowns. Like, I could see them taking the foot off the gas.
Right.
Towards the end.
It's week 0.
Yeah, week 0, you don't know. But they also want to get run and try to find a rhythm, so they could just throttle them also. Right. That's what's hard with week 0 is you really don't know what teams are going to do. So, for me, if I played it, I'd play over 55.5 on the total score.
And then, finally, those Rainbow Warriors versus Delaware State Hornets. Hopefully that they also don't have some of that bug spray on the field.
If they get there. Delaware State bus ran behind. They missed their flight out to Hawaii. So they're going to be like charter. They're going to take commercial flights and like spread their players out to get out there. So they're already behind schedule. It's going to be a late start out there. I mean, it's an 11 p.m. schedule. So it's a noon Eastern for
we got a
the team
40
coming
point
from the coast.
Yeah, it's a 40-point discrepancy. And, I mean, they're traveling halfway around the world to get there. And their plane broke down. I mean, they're having a bad day right now.
Yeah, I mean, Delaware State is a terrible team in general. They're god awful. They're not good. If there was a side to pick, it would probably be the -40. But that's a lot of points to lay.
That's a lot of points.
I don't like laying things at around 6 touchdowns because the back door is what scares me.
I honestly don't want any part of this game because the over is at 55.
I mean, Hawaii could hang that themselves if they really wanted to. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to want to, though.
Right.
I don't know if this is going to be like a showcase, like get ready or anything. So,
yeah,
if I had to pick, I guess I'm going the over 55.5. I don't love it.
No, me neither.
Like I said, week 0 is tough. So is week 1. There's no data out there, so you're just going off reputation, going off what you've seen in camp, what the beat writers are talking about.
And I've really been following Delaware State in the off season, and I'm locked into what the players are doing, what the coaches are doing, and I just don't see them scoring a lot of points. Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to score if you never get there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's week 0. Are you excited?
I'm pumped.
How's it feel?
It feels great. I mean, what else can you ask for? We waited all spring, all summer, seeing all this news, all the transfers, all this, all the camps, everything goes into this, and like finally here.
Finally got the studio set. Finally
studio set up.
Recorded our first episode. How do you feel about it?
I think it was great.
I feel great about it, yeah.
I think we're only going to get better.
I mean, look, we started here. This show, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. It's only going to get better and better. It's going to be fine. What will be great is, like, we'll have data after these first 2 weeks.
We're flying by the seat of our pants right now.
That's all gambling is.
But that's all you
right
can
now.
do. Yeah.
But after you have week 1 in the books, like week 0, week 1, even week 2, you like start actually like seeing some data. You can like see schematically how things are playing out for these teams, what they're wanting to do, what they're not able to do. And it just gets better. I think it gets easier to bet as you go.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like we said, it's throwing darts, really. It's a lot of fun. You do all your research, but you could go out the door by week 3. You could be dead in the water.
Just throwing Jackson darts out
Throwing
there.
Jackson darts. We just want to be positive. Really,
Yeah.
the goal, I think, for like week 0, week 1, if you can get out of there 500 on your bets, that's pretty good.
I mean, you guys weren't looking for another sports show.
But you got one.
Yeah, I bet on myself.